Hi, my name is TJ, and today I'm going to provide you with 5 tips to learning a new language. These are tips that I use to improve my second language, which is Spanish, and now that I use to improve my third language, which is Italian. So if that sounds like something that you want to learn about, stay tuned. So the first tip that I have is to improve your overall health. Now, whether it's mental, physical, or spiritual health, everybody needs it. And if you are not at your best health-wise, that will only be another thing to worry about, and that will only give your mind and brain more stress as you move forward in the language learning process. So you need to do the best that you can to maintain some part of your health. I'm not a health dietitian, so I can't help you with that one, but you need to do your best to maintain your health if you want to optimize your second language or third language learning. So the second tip I have for you guys is to improve your literacy in your first language, which is something that I don't see a lot of language educators talking about because I think that they kind of assume that you already know this. And that unless you were raised in a bilingual household at a very young age, it's really impossible to match your second or third language with your first one in terms of reading and writing. So what I suggest to prevent hitting plateaus in your second or third language and getting really frustrated is turning on the subtitles, for example, on TV, or when you're watching YouTube or when you're watching Netflix. You could turn on the English subtitles if you speak English natively, or you could turn on the subtitles in whatever your first language is. Also, when you're reading a book and you don't understand a word, stop and underline it. And when you underline that word and you think about it more, it goes through your thought process and you kind of get to the point of the context, and you start to learn important contexts, and that will help you in your second language when you're trying to find a way to say a phrase. When you don't know how to say it, you can then use your brain as a reference book basically to move back and look into all of the separate contexts of what was just said and how to say it. So improve your literacy and you will see good things happen. So my third tip for you guys is to be able to get very specific about what you want to know in your target language. So for example, somebody who's studying Australian English to go to Australia has a specific goal in mind for English. Somebody coming to the United States wouldn't study British English. You know, it makes sense geographically to do that. So you need to ask yourself questions like, do I want to write an academic essay? Do I want to communicate with my neighbor who speaks Chinese? Do I want to say, hey, come here to my dog in Spanish? You know, all these things are factors that matter when you're trying to learn a language. You need to get very specific in order to increase your speed and optimize all of the processes needed that go into learning and communicating in another language. You know, for example, if your goal is just to say a few basic phrases, well, then at least you have an idea of that, and that will make it ultimately go a lot faster for you. So tip number 4 I have for you guys is to make mistakes. Yes, you're gonna hate to hear it. I didn't like to hear this one either when I started working on my third language, but you have to start making mistakes. You know, it's the truth. When speaking and writing, the thing is, you'll never know until you go out there and you try it and you be bold and you make a mistake. When you write down something without an accent mark, for example, or let's say in Spanish, which is my second language, as I mentioned earlier in this video, if I thought to myself, rojo is how you say this word, which is the word for red in Spanish. So if I walk around thinking, okay, yeah, rojo, that's right, but I never write it or I never say it, I would never know that the real way that you say that word is rojo. You know? Did you hear that Spanish R? Ooh. And you know, the big thing about this is that all the bilinguals of the world, you know, and especially even when we talk about the trilinguals, the quadlinguals, the polyglots, all of these people, you know, started by making a lot of mistakes. So making a language fun for yourself by finding practical uses throughout the day and finding ways that it can integrate into your own personal life would be one of my biggest tips to find a way to make it fun for you. For example, I used to play video games, and sometimes I would change the language in the game to Spanish just as a challenge to myself. But I know that that's not for most people, but that was just one of my personal favorite examples. Another example that you could do that I heard one of my friends do to learn English was watch series on Netflix, but the ones that were originally in English and not in their main language, because they just liked the story and they really wanted to get the most out of it. So what they did was they knocked down two birds with one stone, metaphorically, by watching their video or their favorite video in English. And in their case, it was with subtitles. But yeah, it really opens up a door that you would never have expected before. Something that you can be proud about and something that you can walk into the world with and say, hey, like, I can do this. And another thing I want to add on to this is that when you really start to gain confidence in your language, it will be so much more fun than right at the beginning. So once you get out of that little beginning phase, that little part where you're just trying to still get over the hill, that's the part where you need to focus the most on and put a lot of energy in. Because after you get past the beginner stage, it just gets more and more fun. Or at least for people like me, because this is what I do. This is totally what I am so passionate about. So, and of course, especially you should tell somebody to subscribe to this channel if they're struggling with English, because I'm going to be making the majority of my videos in English. So maybe they can study me and use my accent as something to improve with. So with that, I'm going to end the video now. Goodbye, adios, and ciao.